Let's dive deep into the world of Bitcoin and see why even 0.01 Bitcoin could set you on the path to becoming a future millionaire and why the Bitcoin price is intentionally kept low. 0.01 Bitcoin might sound like a small amount, but believe me, when you look at the numbers and understand how Bitcoin is structured, it's actually pretty powerful. That's because Bitcoin has a fixed upper limit of 21 million coins. And that's not just a number, it's firmly embedded in the structure of Bitcoin. This means that the more people use Bitcoin, the scarcer and more valuable your bitcoins will become. And each Bitcoin is made up of 100 million smaller units called Satoshis. And these Satoshis could one day become the actual currency of the future. And now just imagine if Bitcoin were distributed evenly among the world's population, each person would only have about 262,000 Satoshis. So if you own 0.01 Bitcoin, you already have more than most people. And the more people use Bitcoin, the more valuable even a small portion of it becomes. And in the future, we might not think in dollars or euros anymore, but directly in Bitcoin or Satoshis. And now imagine you earn 3 to 4 Satoshis per hour for your work. Then you realize how much value is contained in every tiny fraction of Bitcoin. And if you're new to Bitcoin, don't worry, you're not too late. On the contrary, you're coming in at just the right time, and while the early days of Bitcoin were exciting, they were also uncertain. And today, there is more security and clarity than ever before. And still, you should store your Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies offline. You'll find the link for that in the description below the video. You're getting in at exactly the right time. Now you have clearer rules, more stable exchanges, and even support from major institutions like BlackRock, for example. That means this is currently one of the safest times to enter the market. So don't let fear of being too late hold you back. This is the perfect moment to get started and secure your share of this revolutionary asset. So let's talk now about why Bitcoin is fundamentally different from other stocks, gold, real estate, or even diamonds. Sure, gold is valuable and real estate is something tangible. But both can be produced, expanded, or mined further. With Bitcoin, there are only 21 million, and no government or central bank can print more of it. The security of Bitcoin is built right into the technology. The more people use Bitcoin, the scarcer the supply becomes, which makes it rarer and therefore more valuable over time. And another point that makes Bitcoin unique is its security and privacy. As long as you keep your password or private keys safe, no one can take your Bitcoins from you. Not even the government, unless you break serious laws maybe. The Bitcoin technology ensures that only you control your assets. Unlike with a bank, where authorities can freeze or seize your account, Bitcoin remains outside traditional control due to its decentralized nature. No one can see how much you have, unless you reveal it yourself. And I believe that in the future, Bitcoin will be more valuable than gold, real estate, stocks, or even diamonds. All these other things, all these other assets, can be produced, mined, or manufactured in greater quantities. But Bitcoin has a fixed supply, and that makes it something completely different. Bitcoin is more than just an asset. It is a tool for freedom, to secure your wealth and protect your financial independence in a way that nothing else can. So owning 0.01 Bitcoin doesn't just mean having a piece of a cryptocurrency, but rather a piece of a revolutionary financial system that is becoming increasingly important. The scarcity, privacy, and independence of Bitcoin make Bitcoin and its smallest units, the Satoshis, more powerful than anything else. And for those of you who are just getting started, you are entering Bitcoin at exactly the right time. And the question now is, will you secure your share of the future? And before we continue, if you like this insight, don't forget to like and subscribe and keep stacking Satoshis. What's important is that you hold on and keep buying and continue to buy Satoshis. And now, let's take a look at what's really happening in the Bitcoin market. I need to talk about something that's really bothering me. Companies like MicroStrategy have seen their stock price rise by over 3,000% since they started buying Bitcoin. And no one is really talking about what that means. People are still debating whether Bitcoin is real, while these companies are turning from boring software firms into Bitcoin vaults, and Wall Street loves it. Then Japan said, wait a minute, we're going to try that too. MetaPlanet is now doing the same thing.
We were inspired by the strategy and began executing it last year. And now, especially in Asia, we're constantly being approached by other companies who want to have conversations, who want to understand the playbook, who want to know what the pitfalls might be, how to explain it to their boards, and who to surround themselves with to make sure there's a smoother path forward. So I think this is just the beginning. This is, perhaps in the Japanese context, the start of a tidal wave of more and more corporations around the world adopting Bitcoin. I think it would be irresponsible for companies not to look at Bitcoin and not to purchase Bitcoin for their balance sheets.
Their stock has risen by over 500% in just a few weeks. No big announcement, just, yes, we now hold Bitcoin, and the market went through the roof. And you would think that this would move the price of Bitcoin, right? But no, the price stays almost the same, and that's what most people don't understand. Because these companies aren't buying on public exchanges like Coinbase or Binance. They're buying OTC or over the counter. And these are private deals that aren't visible. No candles, no charts, no hype, just large transfers happening behind the scenes. And that's why you don't see the price move, even though millions or even billions of dollars are flowing into Bitcoin right now. It's basically like trying to measure a storm with a coffee thermometer, and the big players out there are buying through OTC deals. That's what's really going on. Don't worry about it. And honestly, what they're doing actually helps us small investors because it accelerates adoption and dries up the supply. They're deliberately giving us a head start. Sure, they're mainly doing it for themselves, no doubt, but for you, this is exactly the kind of insider info that matters. This is your ace up your sleeve, your secret weapon. It's simple. Keep stacking Satoshis until you have plenty. Because as soon as these guys are done accumulating what they want, they're going to make the Bitcoin price skyrocket. That's why Michael Saylor also says that people should bet on MicroStrategy's price dropping because he knows what's happening behind the scenes.
You know, my real aspiration now is if you really hate Bitcoin, I want you to love us. Like, we're the perfect instrument to short right because I promise you we won't sell it, right? We are going to be leveraged long on Bitcoin. And if you don't like that, or if you just want to hedge, you can sell our stock or sell puts or buy puts, right? And the worst thing I could do is to take the other side of your trade or interfere with what you're doing. So I think part of MicroStrategy's rise to prominence in this space is that we've been laser focused, very consistent, very transparent. We're going to buy Bitcoin, never sell Bitcoin. We're going to borrow money intelligently. If you like Manhattan, and if a company said, I'm going to borrow $5 billion at 1% interest, and I'm going to develop real estate in Manhattan, you might think that's the kind of company you'd want to invest in. But if you hate Manhattan, and we're 150% exposed to Manhattan, you've got this investment thesis. That's the company I want to short. And the most important point in the marketplace is you just have to be very pure, true to your focus, have integrity, consistency, and transparency. Because it's not my job to trade, hedge, arbitrage, or construct that portfolio. There are guys with hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in a Bloomberg terminal, and that's what they do every day. So my contract with them is, we're going to do what you can't do. We're going to buy Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin, and we're going to issue equity, and we're going to issue debt instruments. And you can't do that. We're a public company on the NASDAQ stock exchange in America with a nearly 30-year track record. And we have 16 billion of permanent capital that's Bitcoin, right? So I can create an equity with 80 or 90 vol. I can have permanent capital. We can withstand massive swings because of our capital structure. That's what we can do. What you can do is decide if you want to buy it, sell it, hedge it.
And now it gets really intense. Most people out there are driving themselves crazy, wondering if they'll ever own a whole Bitcoin, saving $10 here and there, and hoping that the price will shoot up to $1 million per Bitcoin. And then there's MicroStrategy. They've already scooped up over 3% of the entire Bitcoin supply. And that's not investing, that's staking a claim. That's marching into the Bitcoin ecosystem, planting a flag, and saying, this is ours now. Now imagine you're trying to grab a slice of pizza, and one guy has already taken 3 whole pizzas off the table. That's what we're dealing with now. And they're still quietly accumulating more through OTC deals while the small fish freak out and sell because of a $300 drop. Meanwhile, MicroStrategy is buying up Bitcoin in bulk behind the scenes, and no one notices because nothing shows up on the charts. That should really make you pause, because if a single company can quietly amass over 3% of the world's scarcest asset, what happens when 5 or more do it? Or 50 or 100? But today, there are already over 120 publicly traded companies that have converted part of their balance sheet into Bitcoin. And this part is crazy. Most people still treat Bitcoin like a lottery ticket. They hope it goes up, then they sell it and buy a Lambo. Cool plan, for sure. Meanwhile, the people who really get it are trying to exit the broken system. They don't buy Bitcoin because it might go up. They buy it because everything else is guaranteed to go down. And we're seeing this more and more. The dollar and the euro are falling against Bitcoin. Have you ever wondered why Bitcoin often stays stable or even rises when there's bad news in the market? That's no coincidence. It's because the people who get it already have it. So I'll say it again just for the people all the way in the back. Bitcoin is being quietly bought over the counter. That's why you don't see any movement. That's why the charts look boring. But believe me, behind the scenes, there's absolute chaos in a good way. This is the part of the cycle where the smart money moves quietly while retail investors wait for confirmations that will never come. And by the way, next time someone asks you why the price hasn't gone up, even though all these banks and institutions are buying Bitcoin, just lean in and say, because they don't want it to yet. They're quietly buying OTC, stacking up before the world even realizes the shop is open. And as soon as they're done feasting, they let the price rise. And here's what really fires me up. Most people still don't own a single Satoshi note, even a fraction of a Bitcoin. And they won't. Not until they're forced to, until they have to work for it. Because yes, that's the future that's waiting for us. Either you own Bitcoin now, or you'll work for it later. There's no middle ground. So if you're seeing this and even stacking just a little, buying some Satoshis, you're already way ahead. You're not buying into hype. You're buying into freedom, into sovereignty, into a system that doesn't bow to the few. So the next time someone asks why a company should buy Bitcoin, just say, because it works, because it wins, because it's the only thing that still makes sense. And if it worked for MicroStrategy, MetaPlanet, and BlackRock, maybe it'll work for you too. The future belongs to those who adapt early, and you're one of them. So stack more Satoshis wisely. Alright, my friends, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.